Any of these things that are changed, because we can also change the screen contrast. So I can do a high contrast white or high contrast black. And I can do font size here, make it large. So now I'm in a large font, high contrast voting session here. And notice that I did this as a voter. So I didn't, as the poll worker, I didn't have to pre-set up, you need a large font version, or you need a high contrast version, or you need an audio ballot. The voter at that point, either using the wheel or using the touchscreen, can make all of these selections and adjustments and get the ballot in the way that's best for them to vote, independently of the poll worker. And then, of course, any of these settings that are changed will revert back to the defaults as soon as the ballot is printed and is ready for the next voter. So I'll continue to make some selections here. And I'm going to jump to the end. It'll tell me all of the selections that I've made, and it will alert me where I've made no selections. I can then hit return to ballot to make any changes that I might want, or I can actually touch that specific contest to jump to that portion. And this is a proposition that has a lot of proposition text. So in the large format, I actually need to scroll through. And then I can vote it, jump back to my review. Again, it's got all of the selections that I've made. And when I'm ready, I can print the ballot. And it gives me one final, are you sure you're ready to print your ballot? And I say, yes, print my ballot. So the printer has been sitting there for a little bit, and that's honestly going to be the case because you're probably not going to have just a lot of people using the ADA. So it will take it a few seconds to warm up. But if you were using this printer as a printer on demand, it only takes about 15, 20 seconds to print it out. Any questions about this process? Anything that I left off as far as, voter features?
If we had wanted to use it with, like, you mentioned a barcode scanner, how exactly does that work? Is that like an extra device then?
So it's just a handheld barcode scanner. We call it auto ballot. It can be attached to print currently to automate the process for printing the proper ballot style on demand. And then again, this is another one where in our very next release, we've added it as an option for the touch writer. So once they've checked in at the poll book, they could go directly to the touch writer, scan their poll book barcode there, and it would automatically bring up the proper ballot style for them. But it's just it's a USB plug-in that has our physical notched connector. And I'll show you, this will give an error when I unplug it, of course. But the connector, you can see here, it has some physical notching for it. So you wouldn't be able to just plug in any off-the-shelf USB stick. And even if you cut into a USB stick that you bought off the shelf to match this, we use non-standard wiring, essentially, so it's not even going to recognize it. So the error should clear in just a second because I've disconnected, it throws that error up there. But here is the ballot that I've printed, and it is now ready to go to the scanner. So that voter completes the process and casts their vote in the same manner that every other voter does by going to the scanner and inserting the ballot. And because this did come from the touch writer that didn't allow overvotes, generally speaking, there's not going to be any return messages from that voter unless they had done something afterwards. Remember that the touch writer is a ballot marking device. It does not store voter selections at all. If they did get that piece of paper off the printer and realize that there was a mistake, it could still go through the same process of spoiling, just like a voter who had to put their ballot in the scanner. At that point, the vote is not recorded on that device.
So there's not a summary view screen of what they chose?
There is. There is a summary. On that screen, the last thing you see before you print your ballot is the summary. It shows you the selections that you made and if you skipped any contests. But after that, it prints the ballot. It does not store the vote. There's no vote record. So at the end of the night, all of your results are on this one device. You're not having to get results from multiple devices, which is similar to what you're doing today.
And this stand, is what you guys, recommend for use out in?
Yes, the stand comes with the system, and it's designed for, again, front entry wheelchair accessibility. It meets all the reach dimensions for ADA compliance, things like that. there's nothing to stop you from putting it on a table. It'll still work, but this is just a way that it's a product that is lightweight, easy to set up in the polling place, and is going to totally accommodate any voter. And it'll just kind of standardize that throughout the county. So if you had different types of tables at different polling locations, you wouldn't want to inadvertently have one at a table that wasn't wheelchair accessible or something like that.
Is that secured on that stand somehow?
In the same way, yeah, there's a locking
There's a
pin
lock underneath there?
yes. But because it's not quite as sensitive to the fact that there's no ballots, there's no vote, so it doesn't need to be. It's really just there so that it doesn't, come off. So when I lock it in place, it's secured to the table. Yes, sir.
Settings and calibration, how do you calibrate the touchscreen?
Good question. So both of these devices have the ability to calibrate on screen at any time with the maintenance passcode. And that kind of leads to another differentiator, I think, between Hart and some of the other companies, the way we do business. We're not going to lock you into some sort of preventative maintenance schedule for the devices. Everything that you need to do to maintain this equipment is on board, and anything that you need to do, like changing the internal batteries, you can do with a Phillips head screwdriver. So we want to give you the ability to be independent of us in the maintenance of your equipment. If you want us to come in and do a complete overhaul, on a every other year basis or something like that, it is a service that we provide, but we don't mandate it, that make it required. But calibration, if I need to calibrate the screen, I'm going to hit the poll worker button on the back, go into the menu, and then I can change settings. But in order to do that, I need the maintenance passcode, which is different than the poll worker passcode. Well, I say that. I made them all the same today, but you would be able to make them different, and you would. But now I can do touchscreen calibration, and it's a pretty standard, just, touch release calibration process here. Now, these touchscreens are not capacitive, but resistive 5-wire touchscreens, and they're rated for something absurd, like 3 million touches. We do recommend that they're calibrated on an annual basis. Calibration is complete. Notice that the polls are still open this whole time. I can do this at any time, whether there's an election loaded, not. If I get reports that the calibration is off on something, I can fix it right then and there without having to have like a technician or somebody come out.
Is there more than one angle to that screen, or that's the fixed angle right there? It's the viewing.
That is the fixed angle because it's locked into place. The preventative maintenance schedule that we recommend is behind each one of these tablets. So I should have showed you that when I took it out, but right back here in the unit, hidden from like voter view or public view, is the recommended preventative maintenance schedule that just says, as needed, you should probably clean the screens. Annually, you should do calibration. Every 3 to 4 years, we recommend replacement of the internal coin battery. And every 4 to 5 years, we recommend replacement of the lithium-ion battery. So all of that is just, we're out front, open, there's no hidden costs. You can, kind of use those recommendations for what works best for your budgeting and your maintenance timing.
How many units can you connect to the printer at one time?
One. Yeah, the design of this is that you will have one scanner in the polling location and one ADA device connected to one printer. The usage of the ADA device, I may be wrong, but I'm going to make an assumption here that one in every polling place is probably the typical setup that you have. And we wouldn't want to ever be able to do more than one to a single printer, because then you get into whose ballot is whose if multiple people are voting at the same time. So.
Scanner designed specifically to have one scanning unit at one location, or can it work with multiple?
There's nothing to prevent you from putting 2 units into at a busier polling location or like one of your in-person voting locations, but we've seen great success in Hamilton County. They generally do, correct me if I'm wrong here, but one scanner in every polling location, even in their busy places, because the bottleneck is going to be, not at the scanner. It's generally going to be at people marking their ballot. That's where they're going to take their time. And again, it's 5 to 10 seconds if the voter's lingering, maybe at the scanner itself. So you may have a line, and we have some best practices, kind of like this tape is here. You might want to put a stand behind this line and wait until it's your time to go up. But we don't see the line get too much deeper than maybe 4, 5, 6 people at any given time.
If a jam occurs or the ballot was inserted, where might it jam and how would we fix that?
Okay, so the question is about jams. That's a really good question. We've done a lot of things to eliminate jams. One of the things that you may have noticed is we don't have a physical diverter inside our ballot box. So we are capturing a digital image of all of the write-ins. So at the end of the night, all of the write-ins print out on the tape. So there's no need to go through and get those separated write-in ballots or anything like that. So the elimination of a diverter inside the ballot box eliminates, it's another moving part that could break, and so it eliminates that for potential for jams. The other thing that really helps us with ballot jams is that our paper, you may have noticed, is not a thick cardstock, so it's not susceptible to moisture or humidity or things like that. So it's really good in that regard. It's not going to cause jams that way. And then the throat, that we call it the entrance point. So it falls directly out of the scanner, and it goes through a very thin area that isn't going to have any static buildup to potentially make the ballot cling to the side. So all of those things, we just really don't see jams. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to talk on the other side of my mouth and say, if we do see a jam, and when we do, it tells you very clearly on the screen whether the ballot has been counted or not. And then the other thing that we have that's really nice in that regard is our system, being a digital system, has the ability to turn on unique identifiers for each and every ballot. It means each ballot is unique. This is an option that you can turn on or off. But if it is